were introduced to the Southeast BIC by our local enterprise board in Carlow, and we found the experience very, very positive.
Good morning, everybody, and you are all most welcome to this morning's webinar event at Southeast BIC celebrates 25 years supporting entrepreneurs, startups and small business here in the Southeast region. I'm sure you'll all agree that this year we have witnessed the most strangest and challenging of times with COVID-19 and the spectre of Brexit hanging over us as well. All major challenges that we must have faced and must face in the future. But we still felt it was appropriate to mark this milestone in the history of Southeast BIC since our establishment back in 1995. I would like to welcome everyone who has joined us here today, our various stakeholders, Enterprise Ireland, the Halo Business Angel Network, the local enterprise offices, the Institute of Technology in Waterford and Carlow, the local authorities in the region, chambers of commerce, our clients, both past and present, our board members who work so diligently and selflessly in moving the BIC forward, and to everyone who's partnered with us during our first 25 years. And I suppose I'd like to take this opportunity here as well as to give a huge thank you to the team here in Southeast BIC, to Rosemary, Carol, Siobhan, Denise, Cormac and Michelle. All the success or any success we've had is down to the hard work and professionalism of this team, and indeed all the past teams in the history of the BIC, all the past CEOs, all the past board members, and I want to acknowledge their contribution here at the start of the event. Today's theme is celebrating success, and rather than simply outlining what the BIC does and what we've achieved, we prefer to hear from our clients and our stakeholders during the event. And it's very, very important, I think, to acknowledge the great startup successes we've had here in the Southeast region, and how important acknowledging that success is to the next generation of entrepreneurs and startups. We in the BIC are constantly inspired working with these entrepreneurs that we meet every day through our engagement with them in getting clients investor ready, either for Enterprise Ireland HPSU funding or equity investment via our management of the Halo Business Angel Network. So today is divided into two main parts. The first up is the final of our 25th anniversary pitching competition, where we have three up-and-coming startups, no doubt three very nervous startups in the background, who will make a short pitch to our panel of judges. And we're delighted to be joined by John Phelan from HBAN, Ed Hendrick, founder of Sonru, and Keith Brock from Enterprise Ireland as our three very distinguished judges. While the judges are deliberating, we will have a keynote address from our chairman, Dick Hickey. Dick was one of the founding members and early drivers of the BIC in the Southeast region, and he will outline some of the key moments during our first 25 years. And then we will have a fireside chat with a panel of a very distinguished panel. We have Jenny Melia from Enterprise Ireland, Patsy Carney from Airgen Pharma, Anne-Marie McSorley from Very, and David Walsh, founder of NetWatch. I'm delighted, absolutely thrilled to have them here today, and very thankful that they're giving their time to us here this morning, and I'm looking forward to hearing from them. And finally, at around 12:30 or so, it's about an hour and a half all told, we will announce the winner of the pitching competition and wrap up the event then. So I will now hand you over to Rosemary, and we'll start proceedings with our pitching competition. Let's put them out of their misery, Rosemary.
Thanks, Aidan. It's such an exciting day for us here at Southeast BIC as we present the final of our pitching competition. We were blown away, genuinely blown away by the volume and the quantity of the entrants, even though the majority of them came in at the very last minute. It was a very tough job to decide who would be chosen to pitch here today. So I'm really glad that I don't have the job of judging today. So I'm going to introduce you very briefly. So I'd like the judges to come on for a minute. I want to introduce our three judges. John Phelan, All-Ireland Director of HBAN, the Halo Business Angel Network, who we manage here in the Southeast. Keith Brock, our main man in EI, he's the senior DA in the HPSU unit. and somebody who hopefully needs very little introduction to people in the Southeast, Ed Hendrick, founder and CEO of Sonru, who we worked with very closely in the early days and through the funding rounds, etc. of Sonru, and we're delighted that Ed always comes up trumps and helps us out on days like this. So it's great to have such a brilliant panel of judges. Each finalist has strictly 4 minutes to pitch based on criteria that we have issued to them. And our judges will then get 4 minutes to ask questions, which works out at pretty much a question per judge. I plan on being extremely strict with timing. I'm going to do a Matt Cooper on it, like he was at yesterday's Big Ideas. I'm going to cut you off mid-sentence if I have to, otherwise we'll all be here all day. So you'll hear me interject saying 4 minutes. So I'll be asking everybody, whoever's speaking at that time, to wrap up.
So something I get asked the whole time is, where does the name Sonru come from? And it comes from an Irish phrase, Bíle Sonru, which means to stand out. That name was actually developed in a brainstorming session that we carried out at Southeast SEBIC.
Things that they really helped out was, first of all, giving us access to angel investors, which are key at the early stage. So the introduction to HBAN and preparation for pitching to HBAN was essential for us at the very beginning.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Rosemary. Well done, well organised, kept up the time, a difficult task. And well done to the three companies. I suppose for those of you listening, it's so difficult to pitch to a screen. It's really difficult, and we see it during our regular investor pitching events that we do with HBAN, and the companies say how difficult it is to pitch to a screen rather than to an audience. So well done on the companies on doing that. Really good pitches, and thanks to the judges for really good questions. So now I'd like to call on the chair of the board of Southeast SEBIC, Dick Hickey. Dick, if you can turn on your camera and your mic to make a keynote address. Dick was one of the driving forces behind the establishment of the BIC back in 1995. I'm aging you there a bit, Dick, and you provided immense guidance and support as chair of the board to everything we've achieved during these past 25 years. So Dick, over to you to give us a few thoughts on the last 25 years.
Okay, thank you, Aidan. My name is Dick Hickey. I'm the chairman of the Southeast Business Innovation Centre, and I've been that since its inception in 1995. And I've warned the board already that I won't be going on much longer in this role. 25 years is quite long enough. You're all very welcome to our 25th anniversary shindig. We really should have had a champagne party, but obviously health and safety are much more important considerations. I've been asked to give you a potted history of where we started with the BIC and how we've got to where we are right now. And it all happened really during my time as president of Waterford Chamber of Commerce, which was in 1991-92. And I was approached at that time by our CEO, Catherine Bulbullion. She was recently appointed as the CEO at that time of Waterford Chamber. And Catherine, as a lot of you will know, has her ear very close to the ground. She had tremendous contacts, political contacts, business contacts, contacts at all sorts of levels. And she'd become aware that in the DG regions in the European Union, they'd created a fund which was to develop business innovation centres across Objective 1 regions of the European Union, with a view to developing and supporting innovation. At that time, Ireland was an Objective 1 region, and 3 business innovation centres had already been established in Ireland. They were in Galway, they were in Cork, and in Dublin. Catherine was aware that there was a possibility of another centre being planned for Ireland, and we agreed that any new centre, if it came to Ireland, it should be based in Waterford. So to cut a long story short, we put together a team at that time consisting of Waterford Institute of Technology through its president, Ray Griffin, Waterford City Council with its CEO, Michael Doody, and various local organisations such as IBEC and 1 or 2 other organisations. Following an amount of lobbying, telephone calls, arm twisting, correspondence, we eventually submitted an official application to Brussels. And it was interesting that in order to facilitate a smooth passage through the bureaucracy of Brussels, I decided to visit the relevant office in 1994 and meet the senior official who was in charge of making the decision for Ireland. Fortunately for us, the official was an Irishman, and he was from Tramore in County Waterford. His name was Eugene Power. And after some time catching up on local gossip in Tramore with Eugene and dealing with the more important matter of our BIC application, he finished our conversation by saying, if another BIC is coming to Ireland, it will definitely come to Waterford. And it did, and it was open for business in 1995. And I suppose that shows that all the networking in the world and all the research in the world is great, but having the local man meeting with you is what's really important. Huge credit for landing the BIC in Ireland at that time goes to Catherine Bulbulia, Ray Griffin, and Michael Doody in Waterford, in Waterford Council. At that time, part of our funding, in fact, the main part of our funding came from Brussels, with matching funding required from us. Our funding was required to demonstrate the commitment of the business community in the region. It was very important that Brussels saw that this was a community effort. We received substantial funding from Guinness because of their involvement with breweries in Kilkenny and in Waterford at that time. We're very grateful to their senior executive at the time, Mr. Willie Murphy. He not only secured the funding for us, but also sat on our board for a number of years. We received substantial support from the County Enterprise Boards at that time in the region, demonstrating the regional nature of the BIC. And part of our funding was in the form of benefit in kind, and many professional organisations and companies were very generous to us on that. In 2004, as Ireland became net contributors to the European budget, our Brussels funding ceased, and we were thereafter funded by the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment through Enterprise Ireland, and they've become our major partner for the last 16 years. We've been extremely well served in our voluntary board of directors over that time. The board is drawn from various players in the region, including currently the Chambers of Commerce, IBEC, Waterford and Carlow Institutes of Technology, Kilkenny County Council, Enterprise Ireland, and the private sector. The board has guided the BIC through all sorts of challenges through those 25 years, and we've always sought to expand the range and quality of services that are available to the business community in the region. One of our earliest successes was the establishment of our incubation centre, a first in the southeast region. We've become a major player in the search for high potential startups in the region, supporting many entrepreneurs to develop and secure funding through our management of the Halo Business Angel Network. Many of you will know Cormac Code in this regard. We're proud of our involvement in numerous regional initiatives over the years, too numerous to mention today, but including some of the more recent ones, NDRC at Arc Labs Accelerator, Kinetic Labs, and InsureTech. With that regional footprint, we see ourselves as a key player within the region. We're a full member of the European Business the European Business Network, that's EBN based in Brussels, and we are a certified BIC. There are 144 certified BICs throughout Europe and 71 associate members located in 22 European countries. EBN is a significant partner to us in developing relationships in Europe and in securing EU projects. We've been very fortunate in the various CEOs over the quarter century. Our first CEO was Declan Carroll, and he had the job of getting the BIC off the ground and becoming recognised within the region. He was followed by Patrick Munden, who built on that foundation to further develop our presence in the region. For 10 years to January 2018, our CEO was the late Michael Malloch, who sadly passed away earlier this year. Michael took the BIC to another level, and we are fortunate that we now have Aidan Shine as our CEO. Aidan worked side by side with Michael during those 10 years and is now ready to lead us forward through this most difficult time, with COVID and Brexit being the most immediate challenges. He's very well assisted by our staff, some with us a long time, some others of more recent years. We have Carl Thurston, Rosemary Ward, Siobhan Oates, and Michelle O'Rourke. And finally, may I say to you all, please stay safe in this time and all have a happy Christmas. Thank you.
Dick, many thanks for that. That was an excellent summary of our 25 years and the various challenges we've had over that time. So thank you very much, Dick. So you can unmute and turn off your or mute and turn off your video there, Dick. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
So now I'd like to call on our panel for our fireside chat. So I'd like Jenny, David, and Marie and Patsy to unmute themselves and turn on their cameras. And I'm delighted to say we're bang on time. This is really going well. Excellent. And guys, thank you so much for coming on this morning. Hi Jenny, I didn't get a chance to speak to you just before. How are you?
Hi.
And I presume everybody knows each other. So, and as I said, it would have been great to have this in person. So thanks for coming on this morning. And we're just going to spend the next 30 minutes or so just having, as I said, a chat around your experience in the startup ecosystem. And first of all, I'd just like to ask each of you to give a brief introduction. So, Patsy, if we could start with you. We know you from Airgen Pharma. Can you give us a kind of a quick summary of the Airgen Pharma journey and leading up to where you are now, what you're at now?
Right. Aidan, thanks for asking me along today. An exalted company as I am. And a bit scared by the fact that there's 79 other people apparently listening. Airgen's story started about like 5 minutes up the road from you when I was myself and Tom Brennan, who founded it, were in IVAX. And I do remember walking down while I was still working in IVAX into the Enterprise Ireland office to figure out what in the name of God could I do about getting this business off the ground during one of my lunch times. And straight across the road from Enterprise Ireland is your good selves in terms of SEBIC. So we didn't move very far when we set it up back in the day. So 2004 was when we got the idea during an MBA program, and we were doing in UL, and it became our business plan for our entrepreneurship module, which we didn't get an A for, by the way. But anyway, we set up Airgen at the time to focus on a niche in the market, which was developing and manufacturing effectively what we called high potency products, or products that were really difficult to work with given their potency and toxicity in their own right. We would have got the show on the road in 2005, and actually we would have come down to yourselves in terms of SEBIC later that year when Tom exited IVAX to join me on a full-time basis. And I think between that September of 2004 and when we finally got kicked out of SEBIC, because I think we had taken over most of the offices at that stage.
Yeah,
we ran our entire construction project out of SEBIC. But it was great support to us back in the day when we were getting Airgen established. So really that first year we spent in SEBIC was a real important inflection point. It gave us that look of professionalism with our landline, our office, or everything we were doing, whether it was talking in terms of raising finance. I know I can still remember the call to one of our first major private investors that came in. That call originated in SEBIC. Myself and Tom sweating it out, doing our pitch just like those three people did earlier on this morning. I don't envy them. But we got established, as I said, in 2005, grew the business quite substantially over the years. We did a further fundraising in 2012, brought in Spamaco, a Saudi company, pharma company who came in. That drove on our facility expansion and our R&D program, to then the big one for us, which would have been the exit and sale of the company to Opco Healthcare based out of Miami, Florida in 2015. I would have stayed on as CEO for another 4 years, probably somewhere along the lines of 3 years too long. But I stayed on because we wanted to get a new R&D center built, which is now built and out there on the Cork Road, one of the few pharma dedicated pharma R&D facilities in the country. And last October, I handed over the reins to basically our CEO at the time, head of operations at the time, Damien Burke, who's now heading up the facility.
Cool. Brilliant, Patsy. Thank you. And Jenny, if I could go to you, can you tell us about your role in Enterprise Ireland and the types of companies that in your role that you support? And I wonder, I suppose we can't let you go without asking, has the range of supports in any way changed, I suppose, with COVID and Brexit, and how that has changed this year maybe?
Hi, Aidan. Well, before I kick in, I just want to say congrats to you and the team. It's a great achievement, 25 years, and it's an awful pity that it's not a genuine fireside chat with a real fire and maybe and maybe a couple of drinks and a few local artisan nibbles. Yeah. And congrats as well to the 3 finalists who gave such fantastic pitches this morning in I know what's a very challenging environment. So I've the pleasure and the privilege of heading up the high potential startup team in Enterprise Ireland. We're a team of 36 people, focusing very much on what will be the future exporting companies in Enterprise Ireland, and working with them at the very early stages of their growth, right through from, you know, companies coming through our new Frontiers program, companies coming through our competitive Start Fund program, some fantastic repeat entrepreneurs like we've seen this morning, who've worked with us before, who know people who've worked with us before, and who come and knock on the door directly. And then really what we do is we work with those companies on their scaling journey, exactly like Patsy described there, you know, as they move, you know, from one growth milestone to the next. And look, I think it's something we pride ourselves on, being a partner on that scaling journey. And then if a company exits and they're moving on, you know, and they're becoming part of a multinational family, you know, our real aim there is to secure the talent in Ireland and to make sure, you know, that the Irish team is well positioned to grow within their new global family. And there would be great cooperation between ourselves and IDA on that. So in terms of the type of startups we work with, and my team at the moment now, we're very much focused on what I would call the technology startups, be it ICT, be it life sciences. I think, you know, in terms of what we're seeing this year, you know, projects that are supporting how people are having to work and live in what's going to be the new environment post-COVID. I don't think I'll get used to calling it a new normal, but it's certainly going to be, we're all certainly, I think, looking at how we can do things differently and do things safely and do things more efficiently. I think it has been a real humdinger of a year, you know, for our client companies. It's been extremely challenging. On the startup side, our investment pipeline held up pretty well, I would say, until around the end of July, start of August, and then we saw a slight softening. And we have had to change how we work and become more agile ourselves, and we've had to change some of our supports to catch our new companies. So in terms of some of the COVID supports we put in, things like helping the companies do really, really thorough financial planning, to prepare them for future investment or discussions with their banks, any of them that are engaging with their banks, right out to new innovation programs for companies who had growth opportunities because of COVID, and then right out the other extreme to our Sustaining Enterprise Fund, where we were working to keep the companies well financed into next year through new measures that were introduced through Brussels. So no, look, it's been a crazy 9 months, and we've a crazy 5 weeks to go now, right up to Christmas Day, to keep the money moving out into the companies.
Indeed. Brilliant. Thanks, Jenny. Anne-Marie, if I can go to you next. What set the spark for you to set up Very? What was the motivation there? How did you come about to set up the company?
It was about 5 years ago, actually, nearly this month. We had sort of a 5-year anniversary ourselves. But like Patsy, that first year, I think a lot of people were looking at me and going, "What's she at?" And you know, I have been working in training for the last 20 years. I worked at multinationals. I worked with a lot of compliance audit training, and I am the worst detailed person you've ever met in your life. I hate paperwork, and I hate creating pieces of paper for no reason. It drives me insane, and I always needed somebody to help me to get that done because I was so bad at it. And it was only after the last recession I set up a training company in the southeast, that I got some big contracts, and I thought, this is stupid what we're doing here. We're just doing this multiple amounts of paperwork and duplication. So I developed a beta, and it was never for creating a company. It was just for a £500,000 contract that we had at the time. And when I showed it to some of the colleagues that we worked with, they all went, oh my God, this would solve huge problems. So it was the likes of SEBIC and Enterprise Ireland, New Frontiers. I hit all the spots for the first 15 months or so, because I'm a single parent. I had 3 teenagers at the time, and I was thinking to myself, can I take this risk? And I was trying to keep a leg on one side and a leg on the other. But eventually, after about 15 months, SEBIC really helped us win Competitive Start, and that was what gave me the ability to leave my other company. And it was small. The other company was just me, and everybody wanted a piece of me doing the training. So I was never going to be able to pay the college and pay tuition and pay the mortgage and pay everything with that anyway. I always needed a bigger plan. So I took the risk, and I'm glad to say we never look back. So what we do basically is we're now an end-to-end training solution supplier, specifically for remote people-based training, and we do everything, but our solutions are mainly around data. It's around gathering all that stupid useless data that all your funders or auditors or accrediting bodies need, and bringing them to a dashboard and making them work in real time rather than just using them once every year for an audit. So we've had some great success. We now have 10 people. Brilliant team here. Without them, I'd have been lost quite a few times. I'd have thrown myself in the river. But really great people. And my DA in Brian Sheridan in Enterprise Ireland has been like a wingman to me. Brian Fives got helped Aidan and myself and Rosemary work around that competitive. I think it was my 4th Competitive Start application that we won. So it is about the people that you meet along the way, and the clients. The clients are really important too. Those first clients that we still have. We won last year. We won the National Training Awards with a client in Cork that does 22,000 training days called Impact Training. And they're design partners for us in our products. So it's been a great journey so far.
It's hard to believe it's 5 years already. That has flown by, hasn't it? Yeah.
I probably came to you in your when I had 1 year down, and I had a little bit more, little more. But you guys really helped.
Time flies when you're having fun. David, are you with us? You are.
Indeed, Aidan.
Good. Yeah, just like you're well known as the co-founder of NetWatch. Can you just give us a little potted history of NetWatch, and then there was a big announcement yesterday. You're going in again.
Yep.
So just give us a little summary of that journey to where you are now.
Great stuff. Well, we started NetWatch back in 2003. Myself and Niall Kelly took a similar route to Patsy. There was 2 of us starting off, and in fairness, our motivation back then was not to make big revenues or big profits. And in my view, it should never be the motivation of a startup, it should be the result of doing the right things and doing those things better than anybody else in the world. We started NetWatch after a friend was attacked one night responding to a traditional burglar alarm at his place of work. He was the key holder. He got a phone call from a traditional monitor station in Dublin to say that the alarm had been activated, and he assumed it was a false alarm because the site had a serious history of false alarms. He raced to the site only to find 3 guys breaking in. He got attacked, and we just felt there had to be a better way of protecting the property, the assets, and most importantly, those first responders. So that's how NetWatch started, and we're a technology company in the security space. We specialise in remote video surveillance. So what that means in very simple English, from our hub in Carlow, we have a link to our client security cameras all over the world, and we've developed very intelligent software that sits behind the camera that's looking out for abnormal behaviour, outliers. Obviously, if somebody's breaking into a property at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's quite abnormal and unacceptable. And then we take corrective action. We can challenge an intruder with a live, personalised audio warning, clear them from the side, contact the police, the guards, wherever it is around the world. And it's highly successful. It really is a solution a disruptive solution at the time that we brought into the marketplace. And again, that was part and parcel of our DNA. I mentioned the fact that our motivation wasn't to make big revenues, big profits. The reality is we were to use, as I say, across the Atlantic in terms of quarters. We completed 68 quarters last December, and we grew every single quarter without exception for those 68 quarters. Now, Enterprise Ireland played a big role in that, but we grew from 3 staff in 2003 to 560 staff now we have in the organisation, 200 of which are based in Carlow or the Southeast region, which is a huge issue for ourselves and a very important thing. We grew from 1 customer, a warehouse in Carlow with 8 cameras, and now we have 250,000 customers across 4 continents. Our core markets are Ireland, United Kingdom, United States of America. They're our big markets, but we do have sites in the Middle East. We have sites in China, Hong Kong, and places like that as well. In terms of revenues, we grew from a startup with no revenue to 60 million. We'll do over 60 million revenue this year. And what's exciting from ourselves, that's contracted recurring revenue. So we have our recurring monthly revenues of in excess of 5 million, which again was a big driver for us over the years. Again, we had a very, very narrow focus in NetWatch in terms of what we were going after. And we were introduced to the Southeast BIC by Carlow Enterprise Board, as it was called at the time. And again, like the stories of Patsy and Henri, you evolve over time. So the first few years were all about passion and energy. And I like what Patsy was saying in terms of spending time in your offices. We took up residency in Enterprise House in Carlow, which was the Carlow Enterprise Board's offices, right? And again, we had a great phrase that sometimes when you're starting off in business, you have to fake it before you make it. we pretended that the offices were ours. So when we invited people in, like Tom and Patsy did, we pretended this was our board room. They were investing heavily, and for that period of time, it was significant. It genuinely was significant. But then we got to a situation where we said, "Look, this is serious. This business is serious. We need to put together a strategic plan." And to be fair to Carlow Enterprise Board at the time, they put us in contact with yourselves. And I remember meeting you back then, Aidan, at the time, and we scoped out the strategy. And one of the things I've learned from putting together strategies, it's as much about deciding what you're not doing as what you want to do. It really, and it became, we have now, from that interaction we had with yourselves, Aidan, back in the day, and to this day we have at NetWatch that the narrower the focus, the greater the opportunity, not the other way around. The reason that the jack of all trades doesn't get the same money as a plumber or electrician is because the jack of all trades. So if you can concentrate and have a very narrow focus, well then you have a chance to become a specialist in your area. You become the thought leader. People look up to you, and you get business, because really high quality business, particularly on the international market, want to deal with specialists. They don't want to deal with the jack of all trades, as it were. So look, it's been an absolutely outstanding journey. Really has been for 17 years. Again, like Patsy's story, I stepped down last January as the CEO of NetWatch. We brought in external investment a couple of years ago in 2018, private equity company. And it was always the plan that I was supposed to stay for 12 months. I ended up staying for 18 months or 20 months. And even for the last, one of the, again, very similar.
You're after hitting mute there, David.
Right.
I swear it wasn't us.
I was able to convince our investors to appoint Wendy Hamilton, who was my COO for the last 8 years, to take over my role as CEO. So I've been working very closely with Wendy over the last 12 months, and she's doing a fantastic job. But go back to how you started about we're going again. As Jerry Kennelly says down in Kerry, he's a serial entrepreneur, says we're too thick to stop. but this time around our motivation is driven, and Ginny referred to it, COVID, and how we look. So this time last year, November last year, myself and I attended the Family Carers Ireland Awards, incredible event. So where they were recognising individuals in the community who do an outstanding job in terms of caring for a loved one. And as we were driving home, we said, yeah, look, technology has a role to play here in terms of giving independence to the person who's been minded, but also giving respite to the carer themselves. But we agreed that we'd leave it go for a year, for 12 months. We'd take a year off after 17 lovely years, glorious years in NetWatch. But then obviously COVID broke out, and then all the press about COVID, and we've seen exactly how the devastation, particularly in the vulnerable classes, the elderly and those suffering with chronic illnesses such as diabetes, COPD, heart troubles, and so we knew that we could develop a technology to help keep people in their own homes. 9 out of 10 people want to stay at home when they get elderly. They do not want to go into a nursing home, and that's no reflection on nursing homes. People just want that independence. And again, and all the health commentators across the globe are now talking about care in the community versus care in residential settings in the hospitals, and keeping people out of hospitals is critically important. This time round, Dr. Johnny Walker, who's another serial entrepreneur, an evangelist for digital health, has joined us on this new journey, and it's a fantastic journey. So now what do? We put technology in the home. Most people on this call will be familiar with wearable devices that elderly people wear, so they can actually sort of have a bracelet or pendant around their necks and stuff like that. I mean, they work, but again, there's varying degrees of effectiveness. And what all the research that we have is that elderly people do not want to be tagged. They don't want to be wearing devices. They go for a shower and they forget to put the device back on, and something happens, and their loved ones don't know what's happening. And there's been some horrific things where somebody's on the floor for 5 or 6 hours or 12 hours, right? So our technology is contactless. So it sits on a wall, fits in the wall, it's wireless. It learns the scene of a particular home, and then it reports back outliers in terms of the posture of a person, the gait of a person, the amount of steps they're taking, so we can develop care paths for them. And we have a care hub in Carlow that's going to be staffed with nurses and clinically trained staff to support the elderly people and those with chronic illnesses in the home. So again, if somebody falls in a home now with our device, it immediately reports it in. They don't have to be wearing the device. And secondly, if they want to call for help, our technology is voice activated, so they don't have to press a button if they're in trouble. If they're in the bathroom, for instance, and they slip, they can shout out for help, and it recognizes code words, and help can be forthcoming.
Okay. So it's great you're going back in again, and I can picture it now. Headlines: Are you too tick to stop? Do you want to go again? So we must develop a program around that or something, Jenny. We must have a look at that.
Yeah, I have to work on the branding on that one, all right.
But as a fellow Kerryman as well, I can buy into that, I can tell you.
Yeah.
And so thank you for that, guys. That's a great introduction to everything. And today the team is celebrating success. We're kind of acknowledging the success we're having. We're looking forward to the next generation. And Anne-Marie, when you started, did you have a definition of, and David has alluded to it already, but did you have a definition of what success for you personally was, or success for Very would be when you were starting off? And has that changed over time?
No, I think I'd be telling you a lie if I told you I had a clear vision. I definitely, in terms of creating product, I knew there was a big problem, and I knew that if I could make that problem better for me personally, and when I did it, I thought, I need to share the success of just useless duplication of paper. So just on a practical point, creating a good product that works and does what it says on the tin and is not a sledgehammer to fix a walnut, that gives you great feedback. But in terms of overall success, David, I saw the Halo Care launch the other day, and I saw Dr. Johnny Walker was involved, and I'd met him previously, and he'd blow you away. He's like such a great personality. But when I hear you are in there, like, what? Oh my God almighty, the two amazing entrepreneurs. And I think success for an entrepreneur is really about the team and paying everybody's wages, and sharing the journey. I think is really what the success is about, because we would have taken people, I'm from a training background, we would have taken people through training programs during the recession that were kind of maybe a little outside of your norm. We couldn't afford to pay your top end people, so we brought people that maybe were non-national or maybe had been out of work for a few years, and those are the people that are still with me today. And to see them achieve their potential and help me with things, I think that's fantastic. I have 3 grown-up kids, and I always say that the company is like my 4th kid, and everybody in the company, and it's terrible, like that's a maternal thing to say, but it's the way I feel about it. So sometimes I hear too much.
You've yet to hit the teens then, so you're in the nice country, 5-year-old mode at the moment.
No, I'm hoping it'll be a very nice teenager because it's been a difficult child. But it's been good. But success to me is the people around you and the clients enjoying success. When we won that award last year, when we won Google with the team in 2017, we won the award last year with the client. And I remember coming out of the client's office there last December before COVID, and the client telling me that we were getting a big contract, and them being thrilled that they were going to work with us. But I remember sitting in the car and tears coming down, and like, I really, you become part of it, and it was because I knew then that I had jobs for everybody for the next year, you know, that kind of way. And that's what it's about to me.
It is people.
Personally.
It is people. It is people. And Jenny, in terms of Enterprise Ireland, then, you know, that you guys see an awful lot of startups coming out your door every year in terms of inquiries. Is there any predictor of success? What are the boxes that you feel that need to be ticked when you're looking at when your DAs are looking at a project, or your inquiries team are looking at a project? Is it possible to predict success in some way, or is it a combination of gut and science, or how does that work in Enterprise Ireland?
To be honest, Aidan, it's probably a mix of things. You know, there's no magic bullets, as they say, because if there was, you'd go out and you'd pick 200 projects, you'd invest in the 200 of them, and they'd all become high flyers, you know, in the next 10 years. I suppose, look, I'm in Enterprise Ireland 25 years, and when I look back at all the companies I've worked with, you know, I guess the one thing I always honed in on, you know, were the people. You know, what was their story? What was their vision and their passion? What did they want to do? Because people come at things from different directions. For some people, it's a personal experience that drives them. For other people, you know, it's a commercial opportunity they see, and they have a particular exposure to that opportunity where they have a lot more information, you know, than other people would. And I think for other people then as well, being an entrepreneur, it's almost built into their DNA. And, you know, repeat entrepreneurs, like what you were saying there, David, that you can't hold back, you can't stop, you have to go again. You know, there's another company there, and I would have had those discussions with repeat entrepreneurs as well, you know, persuading them just to go one more time, and we'd be with them. In terms of what does success look like for us in Enterprise Ireland, it's seeing our clients fulfill their ambition. It's seeing them succeed internationally. I mean, I look at clients that I've worked with years ago that I'm no longer working with them directly. And, you know, you still follow their success stories. You still savor their success. You remember small conversations along the way. You hope you've made a difference. For me personally in EI, you know, the biggest success for me is when I get the right support into a client at the right time. And that's the way I would look at it. And sometimes, you know, you've the odd internal battle. You're working on the edges in terms of what you're trying to do, but you go for it because it's the right thing to do and it's what the client needs. So I think for me, that's what success looks like.
Brilliant. And Patsy, you know, you've come out of Airgen, you know, all those years in that corporate sphere. You're now dipping your toes in with Kinetic Labs and stuff. Is there a different motivation or definition of success now that you've moved away from Airgen and now working, let's say, in Kinetic Labs and trying to get that initiative up and running?
Yeah, I mean, the Kinetic Labs is a real pro bono effort. Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of giving back to get Kinetic Labs off the ground, which is, back in the day, look, we wound up coming into SEBIC and it was office space. That was great, but we were getting a life sciences company off the ground. What we really needed was some clean room space, some technical space that we could have actually, at a low cost, low risk, dipped our toe in the water to actually see what this life sciences business could it work. And that was the stuff that was sort of buzzing around in my head for quite a while, saying, how could we make that happen? That's what Kinetic Labs is we'll be finished next week. The doors are going in as we speak. It'll be ready on the 4th of December. And we'll be looking to number around this forum here to help us launch in probably in early January, and looking for client companies to come in. Those client companies being startups like what we're talking about right here, but also in, you know, established pharma companies who are looking to do some possibly sort of really early stage research or early stage tech services type of work that they would prefer to do away from their own facility. That's the kind of spaces that we're offering. and it's housed within WorkLab, which is another interesting space from the point of view of, again, it's very high quality co-working space that Seamus and the team at WorkLab have, and Kinetic Labs sits inside in that environment. For me, the buzz will be, in about 6 to 9 months' time, having 3 or 4 really good clients in terms of startups in there who are reaping the benefits of not having to go to market and raise a lot of dosh to build out a facility, but actually can get their business off the ground as quickly as possible. And when you think about it, where it's located, you're within 50 yards of it. Enterprise Ireland is equally right down the road. WIT is right around the corner. It's helping this whole ecosystem to actually surround these startups with the help that they need, because a lot of people come to this with a deep sectoral knowledge of what they want to do, but the whole wide range of skills you need to start a business, geez, myself and Tom are clueless. I mean, really, to some aspects of it, I'm sure Walsh is going to come right in and say they're still clueless. In reality, there's aspects of setting up a business you won't know. But if you surround yourself in an ecosystem that you have all those supports, then it gives you much better chances.
Yeah, it's another piece of the jigsaw in the Southeast. I think another piece of infrastructure that was badly needed. Yeah. And it's great that the people like yourselves are either going in again or giving back. I think that's really, really important. And David, to continue this theme of celebrating success, yourself and Niall, co-founders of NetWatch, did you have a commonality of purpose, or did Niall have different motivations to you? And was there a confluence of motivations, or was there a bit of a tension between the two of you? And how did that work? We always say, the value of having, rather than a solo or single founder, having a team is the best. But can that have its disadvantages?
No, I think our motivation was exactly the same. There was no dispute there, right? Or we're completely aligned. I think what was really good is that we dovetailed. So Niall had all the technology experience brought to the table in terms of what we were going to achieve. And Niall is an incredible visionary when it comes to technology, not just for technology's sake, but for understanding what it can output. I had the business development side of it in terms of the sales marketing side. So it was a great combination to come together. And to be fair, as I said, I'm a Kerry man, like you said earlier on, like yourself, Aidan, but I came to Carlow to join a great company called Keenan's, right? And the plan was back in the day to get 6 months experience to go back to Kerry. But look, I got sucked into this company that was building a global organisation in the foot of Lockminster, a beautiful place called Burris. And Ger Keenan, the CEO of the company, his natural leadership style was to build the capabilities of those around him. And I often joke about this. We went into Keenan's as raw as a baboon's backside, but we came out with a toolbox of business tools that allow us to really drive on NetWatch. But I think listening to Patsy and Anne-Marie and others and what Ginny said there, I think every startup genuinely needs a cause, needs a mission, right? So like we started we grew from the ashes of 3 outstanding organisations, the Sugar Company, Braun and Lapple, who between them employed 3,500 people at their peak out of a working population in Carlow of 17,000 people. So you can imagine the impact that it was. So like people say to me, look, it's been very, very successful. Why has it been successful? And as Ginny said, it's a mix of factors, right? But one of them is most definitely that motivation in terms of building a global organisation in Carlow and being able to attract into the organisation people who buy into that vision, who are also proud to be from Carlow and be from the Southeast region. And bear in mind, we were taking on the big guns. People say to us and I know Enterprise Ireland and the government have a regional strategy. Obviously, here we are today in the Southeast. But you can turn being outside of the pale into a huge advantage, right? So I'll tell you a great story. In the very early days when we launched, and we were very lucky to get on RTE, a commentator in a very, very large organisation who shall remain nameless in our space, in the Man Garden space, had referred to myself and Niall Kelly as 2 muck savages from Carlow. Somebody said we could change the industry. And he said 2 muck savages in Carlow won't change the industry. Instead of getting offended, we said, wow, this is motivational stuff. We're going to build our branding around Carlow. And that's what happened. And then we attracted in really high quality people. We invested in the local economy in terms of sponsoring the GA grounds. Like, it's one thing I've seen companies over the years talk about, rate the locality, talk about the love they have for their people, but they don't invest. If you look at their accounts, it doesn't reflect what they're saying. So to be seen to invest in the local economy. So anybody who sent a CV into NetWatch, we're very, very clear. that they needed to be proud to be from the area, and they needed to be wanted for part of a bigger vision in terms of growing a global organisation. We had no interest in the lifestyle business, and it's the same with Halo Care. We're going to build another global organisation in Newton, Carlow, and with the help of Enterprise Ireland, Ginny.
I'm hearing you, Dave.
always selling, always be selling.
Aidan, I think he might need some training management.
Yeah,
software.
exactly. So listen, look, there's alarms going off here in my head and in front of me, and I know Rose was probably having a heart attack behind the scenes. I could go on for a longer time. It's been absolutely amazing. But I am going to finish with a cliche of all cliches, right? And forgive me for doing this. But each of you, 30 seconds, that's all you have. There's a lot of entrepreneurs on the call this morning. What's the one piece of advice you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur? And I'm looking at my computer. I'm going to start on the left. Anne-Marie, off you go.
I suppose ambition, you know, believe in yourself and believe that you can do it, and don't take things personally. Resilience is by far the most important quality, and you know, there's days that are brilliant and there's days that aren't, and it's about believing in yourself. And if you know that what you're doing is right, and that you're, you know, my father was a great man to be able to lie straight in the bed at night time, you know what I mean? I think you do your best, and you know you have a good product, and believe in yourself and do it, and don't let the naysayers, you know, it might take 3 attempts or 5 attempts, but you know, believe in yourself.
Cool. Patsy?
Look, one of the more basic ones, I suppose, that business plan. You know, I do come across plenty of entrepreneurs, and you know, they have a kind of a half idea what it is they want to do, but to go to the actual discipline and really knock the business around before you go out there actually into the shark pool, potentially into fundraising and so on. If you come out half ready, you'll get a half-arsed reply from the community. So get that business plan and give it a good rigor. I think we got to version probably 35.
I remember down at the footnote version. Yeah, I do remember that. And it was one of my questions that I was going to get onto today, the business planning process and the business plan itself. But no, you covered it very nicely there, Patsy. Thank you. Jenny, your 30 seconds.
I'd say, Aidan, see what's available in your local support system in terms of understanding the network that's there. So, you know, if you're near a local IoT, find out what's happening in terms of something like the New Frontiers program. If you're near one of the BICs or your local enterprise office, go in and see, you know, what's available there. The same for the techie companies talking to us directly in Enterprise Ireland. If there's local entrepreneurs and there's local business networks, you know, sign yourselves up virtually to be involved and to talk to people. I think it's really important to talk to people, like Patsy was saying, you know, go out and talk to people who don't agree with you and get their feedback and build that into your overall thinking.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks, Jenny. And David, last but not least, what's the one nugget you'd like to give aspiring entrepreneurs?
Well, like Anne-Marie said, I think it's you have to believe in yourself, and then you have to surround yourself with people who believe in you and believe in themselves and believe in on a bigger vision. And I would say this: the single most important thing in my simplistic world is in business is selling. Right? You can have the best wheelbarrow in the world. It will not sell itself. I listened attentively to the great presentations by Alan, Christina, and Liam earlier on, and they're full of passion, they're full of energy, and all that sort of stuff. But I would say an awful lot of, and they did outstanding presentations, far more professional than Patsy and I would have done 20 years ago, to be fair. But I've seen an awful lot of entrepreneurs, startups coming to myself for advice, and they're incredibly passionate about their technology, their product, whatever it is, and they think it's going to sell itself. It does not. So if you have a natural sales flair, fantastic, build on it. If you don't, desperately need to surround yourself with salespeople and have a really high quality value proposition, and be very, very clear about the value proposition. Be very, very clear about your sweet spot customers. There's a temptation in the early days to try to be all things to all people, and try to. But as I said earlier on, the narrower the focus, the greater the opportunity. Surround yourself with great salespeople, and if you have a great product, then that's the ingredients for success.
Excellent. Listen, guys, I hate to stop it. I could literally talk to you for another hour. It's been absolutely brilliant, and I think it shows the breadth of success we've had around the region. I'm really, you know, from Kilkenny, Patsy, and Waterford, David, via Kerry, but a proud Carlow man now by the sounds of it. And Jenny, thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely amazing. We've got 3 companies here in the background that said chomping at the bit to find out who has won. So I just thank you guys so much for your time, and we'll talk to you very, very, very soon. Thanks a million.
Thanks.
And stay on and listen to for the result that's coming up. So that was really, really good. I could have, as I said, I could have stayed on for another hour. That's really, really interesting. So now I'd like to call John Phelan to turn on his camera. John, the chair of the judges. Maybe the other judges can join us if they want. And the 3 companies, if you could turn on your cameras as well. So as I said, starting off, we thought it was a great way to celebrate 25 years was to get 3 up-and-coming companies to pitch their ideas here to us today. And I think it's a very fitting way to commemorate our first 25 years. So today we have a cash prize with €2,000 for the first place. We've got an iPad, we've got free mentoring and office space at the incubation centre at South East BIC as well on offer. So John, let's put them out of their misery, shall we?
Thanks, Aidan. Listen, first up, before we get to all of that, just want to say congrats to yourself and the rest of the team down at South East BIC. Just a quick thanks to Ed and to Keith also for the scoring on this. You all saw the 3 pitches, really strong pitches, and well done to all the promoters. I have no doubt the strength of those 3 pitches, they'll all be successful. They're all really good and very impressive. The winner that came out between Ed, Keith and myself, it was tough. Very, very close. All 3 companies were bizarrely within a very narrow margin of each other. The winner just had a slight bit edge on sales and technical team, that just a bit further along in terms of their stage of development, a bit further down the track. They had some commercial validation, which always helps, and they technically validated as well. They presented a really clear opportunity, disaggregating PhDs and data scientists. If that doesn't give it away, the rest will. So I think the winner is DataWorks in this case. So congratulations to DataWorks.
Brilliant. Well done. Well done.
And also congratulations, obviously, to the other 2 as well.
Yeah, and I would hasten to add that the 3 that pitched today were from a huge number of applicants. We were really, really surprised, pleasantly surprised with the number and quality of applications we got from right across the region. So Alan, well done. We'll get your prize. We'll get your prize to you, and we'll get the other prizes to Liam and Christina as well as in the coming weeks. So that was absolutely brilliant, worthy winner, I think, in the end. We look forward to working with each of you, as no doubt we'd love to work with you in the coming months and years. And hopefully when we're celebrating the 50th, whoever's sitting in this chair, that you might be looking back at your own success. John, Ed, Keith, thank you so much for your time as well. That's brilliant.
Well, thank you.
It's up to me now just to wrap up. I've got some thank yous to do, so if everybody could just bear with me for a few seconds. Thank you so much for being with us this morning to celebrate and to acknowledge our first 25 years in existence. To all who logged on today, a really proud occasion for us. Sorry we couldn't do it in person, but needs must, and we felt it was timely to do it this year. To our 3 companies who pitched, very well done. Congratulations to Alan. To our 3 judges, John, Ed, and Keith, thank you so much. To our panel, to Jenny, Patsy, and Maria, and David, really, really appreciated your time today, and your insights and your stories and your experience is so valuable to us in terms of providing advice and assistance, but also to the startups that were online this morning. To Dick Hickey, our chairman. Dick, thank you for 25 years of immense support and service to the BIC, and for your insights this morning on the ups and downs and the journey that the BIC has experienced. To our board members, our sincere thanks to our board members who give of their time and expertise to us. I want to name them individually: to Mark Minahan, Dr. William O'Gorman, Tony Rowan, Paul Nolan, Sean McKeown, Dr. James O'Sullivan, Tracy Quinlan, Brian Fives, and Ailish Delaney. Thank you so much for all your work and effort in the BIC. To all our stakeholders in the region, Enterprise Ireland, the local enterprise offices, the Institutes of Technology, Waterford and Carlow, the chambers, the various enterprise centres and the hubs in the region. We couldn't achieve what we achieved without these partnerships, without these relationships. To our colleagues in the other BICs around Ireland, in Cork, Galway and Dublin, and thank you for coming on this morning and sharing this with us. To our clients, our past and present clients, you're the reason we exist. It's you that makes our work so fascinating, so challenging, so frustrating, so worthwhile every day. It's a thrill working with our clients. We look forward to working with new clients and to get the next generation of high quality startups in the Southeast. And finally, just an absolutely sincere thanks to the team here in the BIC. It's an absolutely amazing team. What they have done, what they do every year, but especially this year, in the way they adapted and overcame all the challenges that were put in front of us this year. I'm so lucky to be working with you all. To Rosemary, Carol, Cormac, Siobhan, Michelle and Denise, thank you very, very much. I probably don't say it often enough, so I'm going to use today as an opportunity to say that. And a special mention, I suppose, to not to single line, but Rosemary for all the work putting this together. It would nearly been easier if we were doing an in-person event, but thank you, Rosemary, for getting all the technical aspects and the invites and all the coordination that was involved. So thank you so much. I think that is it. Thank you very, very much for being part of our celebrations today. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see everybody soon. Thank you very much.
Southeast BIC provided computers, provided printing facilities, and most importantly for us, provided meeting rooms. And all of a sudden you were in an office environment and you were in a very professional setup.
By having links with the likes of BIC and with Leo and with Enterprise Ireland, they can fill in the gaps in your team. And they've been doing that for me in all the different guises for 15 years now.